What is up, tubers? Teal here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight for a small pond that we're going to go and visit tonight. That is Walter E. Long down in Austin. This is a power plant lake. Looks like it's got some really awesome fishing to it. No fluctuation at all, so didn't find a ton, but I think we found enough to make it interesting. Let's go see what we found. Like we always do when we're breaking down a lake in Texas, we start off on the Texas Park and Wildlife page, and this one's going to be no different. Let's go ahead and jump into this one and look at it. As we mentioned in the introduction, it's Walter E. Long Lake. It's located in Travis County, just east of the city of Austin. It's also known as Decker Lake. The surface area here is 1,269 acres. It has a maximum depth of about 60 feet. It was impounded in 1967. It basically, this is the part that gets me, especially when I'm trying to break down a lake. You look at the water conditions, the normal water level, 555 feet, fluctuation, constant level. And that's basically what we saw through the Google Earth imagery as well. So not a lot we could find for you from a Google Earth standpoint. There were a few places, where we could recognize where there was rock and stuff like that, but nothing to the extent that we would normally be able to find on the breakdown, but still some really good stuff here. Again, controlling authority, City of Austin, aquatic vegetation. It's always fun to fish around. That is hydrilla, pondweed species, bulrush, coontail, and southern naiad. I don't even know if I said that right. And then predominant fish species in this lake, you've got largemouth bass, hybrid striped bass, catfish, and sunfish. I clicked on the lake records. It actually doesn't show any lake records at all, so it can't really help you out with there. As far as lake maps, it says no known lake contour map exists. We're going to see that here in a minute on Navionics. They have actually got one for us. But let's go ahead and look down a little bit further. If we look in here, this is actually some pretty cool information about this lake. Obviously, it's a power plant lake. You'll be able to see that once we get in here, but it does contain excellent populations of largemouth bass and striped bass. The largemouth bass are in the 8 to 10 pound range, are commonly caught here. That's pretty cool. But the reservoir is primarily noted for producing numbers of slot fish between 14 to 21 inch. So that is something pretty interesting to know. The reservoir also has a good population of bluegill, redbreast, sunfish, and many of the sunfish in this lake are more than 8 inches in length. So if you've got a youngster that wants to go out, catch a bunch of fish and have fun, this is where you could go to catch some giant sunfish. You look down here, it gives you a little bit more information about how to fish for the largemouth bass. Basically just talks about flipping the cover and stuff like that. Talks a little bit about here as far as the cover and structure that's there, but nothing too crazy that you'll see. It does talk about some submerged tank dams in parts of the reservoir, and that is what we were talking about earlier. So let's go ahead and switch over, and now let's go look at this thing from the Google Earth standpoint and see what we can find. Here we are on Google Earth now. Let's take a look at Walter E. Long. As we mentioned before, it's a pretty small lake. Obviously a power plant lake. We'll see the output and everything like that here in just a second. And again, there wasn't a lot that I could really find from a Google Earth standpoint on this lake due to the fact that the water level just never fluctuates. So it didn't expose anything for me really to point out, but I'm still going to point out some stuff for you, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we'll switch over to the mobile app too, and I'll show you the contours. But let's talk about what we did find. So first off, we've got channels and ditches. You can see here, if I zoom in, you'll see the different tracks that are here, these green tracks. These are the different channels that are coming in, or different creeks that are coming in, I guess I should say, and those are the channels that they've created. So fishing around those are high percentage areas, so you definitely want to pay attention to where those creeks are coming in. You've also got different types of cover that's out here as well. There's not a ton of it. We did find a few things. So there's a boat for some reason that was left back here. So if you just want to go explore a boat that's been there since like 2017, it's back there. There's also appears to be a roadbed that's right here. So if I zoom in right here, and I get right in here, you can't see it right here in 2023, but if I zoom this back to 2022, you're going to see that roadbed, and that roadbed is right there. So definitely something to go look at. Those types of things are always good. We've also got, as we move over here, we've got some laydowns, not very many. This was just a pretty good looking couple good looking laydowns that were just right in here, but I don't even know if you can get to them. And then also as we get up in here, there's these cinder blocks. So see if I can zoom in here and show them to you. Right here you can start to see them. You can see those cinder blocks. Those fish love to get around that stuff, and it's all right in here. A bunch of those blocks all in here off that point as well. So lots of that stuff. We've also got offshore spots, and we'll talk about those when we get out here. Oops, hopefully let me get it to show up. I got to move it back to the current date that I brought it in when I did the offshore stuff, and I'll show you guys all of this. Now here you can tell I changed the description because we didn't have too many offshore stuff, so I went ahead and just marked all of it for you, but we'll talk about it here in just a second. Like I said, we'll switch over to the mobile side, but you can see we got some pretty good stuff here. We've got a drop here, we've got a pretty good point to look at here, a couple different drops here, a hump, another good point. You got a pond dam that's in here. You've got a drop that's up here as well. You got a big gravel pit that's up here. Another good point, some more drops, so just some pretty good stuff. Another pond dam as well. So we'll talk about that again here in a second. And then we also have different ponds that are out here that I could actually physically see. So lots of pond dams that we had to mark from the Navionics side, but from the Google Earth side, there are two different ponds here. There's one right here, and this looks accessible. So you could get back in there. Look how clear that water is. Let me move this back to 2022. Look how clear that water is right there in that pocket. Looks really cool. And then also as I move over here to this pond, you'll see the same thing. So some pretty cool stuff there. And then as far as ramps goes, there's not too many. There's a couple slabs that you'll see right in here. So you'll see a couple of them here, one right there, a couple more right there. And then you got the main ramp down here, but there's not a lot of boat ramps really that you can fish unless you just want to fish the main boat ramp, or maybe possibly this ramp down here is exposed enough to where you could fish it. But as far as that, not really too many other things that I could see there. And then last but not least, we've got rocks. There wasn't a ton of rock on this lake, but there is some riprap down here around the dam. So you could definitely fish around the riprap around the dam, and I'm sure tons of people do that. There's also a little bit of rock over here as well, so you get into kind of the cover here, but then you come up here, and if you zoom in, it looks like there's some shallow rock just off that shelf right there, so maybe just right in there. Not sure if it's going to be that good for fishing. They're probably going to be more attracted to the cover that's right there, but you never know. As we get up here, there's just like little pockets of rock. So right here, if I zoom in, you'll notice something's going on right in here. So I definitely go look at that spot and just see if you can see anything here. Up here, we get up here by the power plant, and we get over here, there's another spot that's right in here that looks suspicious. You can tell there's maybe some rock and stuff. So it's something different, right? It's something different than the rest of the lake. The rest of the lake all looks the same, and it all looks awesome. So if you live close here, I'd definitely go check out this lake. And then as we move up here, we're going to swing around. The only thing or the stuff that I saw from a rock standpoint was right up here on the output side. There's some riprap all along this output side that's probably going to be pretty good riprap. So you've got some right in here. You got some more right in here, a little more exposed right there, and then some actual rock going right in there. I don't know how far you can get up in here. I'd imagine you probably get stopped somewhere right around in here. I don't see any fence or anything that says that you can't get up in there, so I would definitely look at that. And let's just go back. I mean, since we're covering it this way, don't forget to take a look at that roadbed too. So this is basically everything that we talked about all kind of put back together. I put those offshore spots back on there too so you can see everything. And then we're going to switch over, and we're going to talk about, hopefully those offshore things come on there. It's always tricky from Google Earth to get them to come back up, but there they are. They're all right there. So that basically covers us for all of our waypoints that we had for Walter E. Long. But let's go, before we end this video, let's go ahead and switch over, and let's talk about that Navionics side. Let's go ahead and jump over here to Navionics mobile app. That's what we see here on the screen. And I'm actually using my mobile phone, but I know it doesn't appear to be that way, but it actually is my mobile phone Navionics boating app. You can go out and find it on the App Store. I am not sponsored by these guys, but I love, love, love their app. So let's talk about what we found on Walter E. Long. Now there's not a lot on this lake. This one was a tough one like I talked about before, but there are some opportunities here that we can take a look at from an offshore standpoint. So I want to run through them with you really quick. So let's start right down here at the dam, and we'll work our way up to the right or to the east, and then we'll work our way back to the west, and then we'll finish back down at the dam again. So when we come over here off of the dam, Obviously the dam is going to be pretty good if you can get to the riprap and stuff. There's so much vegetation and stuff here, it might not be worthy. I can't remember what we saw on the Google Earth side, but as we move over here, coming up the right side of the dam, I really like these two spots right here. If you look right in here where the arrows are, if we look right in this spot right here, there's a pretty good ledge. It goes from 30 foot to 37 foot. So there's something going on right in that area. And then also if you look right in here, you can just tell the contours are really, really tight, just right in this spot. So you'll want to look right in that spot. And if there's hydrilla and vegetation in the water there, then this is a pretty good area where you'll find it where it'll likely break off and you'll have some sort of a ledge or some sort of end to the vegetation where you can really hone in and really find the fish. So let's move back and let's go up just a little bit further into that first cove that we see there. There's the submerged vegetation. But right here, you've got a really good hump. This hump at the top, if I zoom in, is 15 feet on the top. And then if you look over here off the side of it, drops all the way down to 39 feet. So that's a 24-foot drop from the top of that hump all the way down to the very bottom. So very impressive. Definitely a good looking hump that you want to go fish out. And then this point, nothing special about it. It's just a main lake point, but definitely an area that you'd want to go look if you were thinking offshore on this lake. Then we're going to zoom up. We're going to go way up here, almost to the top before we find anything else. And what I found here was pretty cool. And I'm sure most of the locals that are here know about this, but if you're new to this lake, like I am, wouldn't even know that that was even there or wouldn't even thought to go look. But there is a gravel pit that's there and you can see all the different contours from where the gravel pit was. I went ahead and just put the fish attractor mark right there in the center. So you could see, you could basically just go and scan that whole area, but don't just focus on where I put the waypoint there, right in the middle. That's definitely not what I wanted you to pay attention to. What I wanted you to pay attention to was basically that whole entire area. And if you have Navionics mobile app, or it might even be out on the Humminbirds and Lowrance and Garmin maps that they have out there, it might actually show this. But basically, you're going to want to scan this whole entire area where these red dots are, kind of that borderline. Scan all around there and see what you can find. Now, it's probably going to be like a hybrid thing, a sand bass thing. There's going to be lots of those types of fish out there as well. But there will be times, I'm sure, that you can go out there and find some larges out there too. So let's go ahead and keep moving. Let's go back and let's look over here on the west side of this arm. So remember, we went all the way up and now we're just coming back down. So as we come back down, didn't see too much on this side of it, but there were a couple things. One, I really like this point just because if you notice again, just like we looked at last time, there's some really tight contours here. So something's going on that's creating this to be a really steep drop or a ledge. I think we called it a drop. But anyways, just might be a good spot to go look at. And then as you come down and you get a little bit further down, you get into this pocket. Let me show you where this is at. So this is the point right there, right? We're going to come up to that very first pocket. There appears to be a pond dam that's out here. And it's funny because someone put here a hump at 15 foot. Yeah, it's a hump, but it's really a pond dam. If you look at it, you can definitely tell that it's 18 feet right here, and it's 15 feet right here, and then it's 18 feet on the other side. So this definitely comes up to 15 foot, but it's because it's a pond dam, and then here's the pond, and then it kind of just, I don't know what happens to it out here. I don't know if it's all washed out, but that's going to be a good spot to go look at. Definitely a good spot to go look at in the summertime, so go check that out. You got some pretty deep stuff over here, so you're probably going to get, if you can find the vegetation, you can probably get out off the edges of it and really have a good time. So definitely take advantage of that, especially with that deeper water close by, because that vegetation will only go so far and then it'll just drop and there won't be any there at all. And you can just run on that line and really take advantage of just the fact that that's set up that way. Now let's go ahead and move over. Let's go up here to this arm. Not seeing a lot from an offshore standpoint, at least anything that really jumped out at me. All through here. Now, one thing that you may want to look at, I couldn't tell on this, but I saw it. I thought I saw a submerged road somewhere else, but right here, if you look right here, it says there's a submerged road. Now, I can't verify that there's a submerged road there or not. You can see it right here. And what we'll do is we'll look on Google Earth too and just make sure. And if there is, I'll put a marker there for you guys. But here's the roadbed here as well. So I would take a look at anything around this roadbed if it exists. And if it does, I'll put it on the card for you guys and I'll mark it as a red line. But anyways, I don't know if it exists or not, but if I can verify that it exists, I'll go ahead and mark it for you guys. Let's keep moving up, see what else we can find. As we come up here, I really like this spot here. This was interesting. I called it a drop on the offshore spot. I just called it drop. But if you look at it, I don't know if this is an old pond or what it is, but it's 11 feet deep right here and it's 9 feet right here. So this is definitely like a little deeper pocket, something going on in this pocket. Nice little cutout right there with the little lip. So I could see that being a pretty interesting area to go look at. And then we move up here, we get all the way up to the top. And as we get up here by the power plant, I just like the little point by the power plant. That's obviously going to be a community hole. Everybody's going to like to fish there, but has a pretty good slope. Obviously a good point where the water intake is. So all of it looks good there from an offshore standpoint. And then we're going to move down. Somebody put a little marker there that says there's a stump. I didn't see anything here that looked too crazy. I mean, you got some points and things like that, but nothing that really stood out. Not until I got down here. Now, when I got down here, that's when things started getting a little interesting. You can see here why. So look how tight of contours that you have right here in this little section. Also right here, you may want to look right in here too. That one's not as defined, but this one is. Let's go ahead and zoom in to just that area, and we're going to see what it is. And it appears to be another pond dam, possibly. You can see it goes down very, very sharp. It goes down to 26 feet, and then it comes back up to 24 feet. So if you don't find them here on this little break, you may want to pull out and see if they're over here on this pond dam. This pond dam only comes up 3 or 4 feet, but it's definitely something that they would relate to. So you may want to go out there and just see if you can find anything in that one spot. We're going to move down. We've got another pond dam that's over here too. This one's a lot more obvious from a contour perspective. If you look at it here, it's really, really obvious. Here's your deep spot for your pond. And then here's where it comes up to 26 feet, and then there's where it breaks back down to 30 feet. So 30 feet up to 26, and I'm sure if we went to the top of that pond dam, it might be, says it's 25, so it's a deeper pond dam, but over here you're at 29, so 3 to 4 feet on the difference there of that pond dam ledge, but definitely could be a spot you want to look at. There's the submerged road. I told you I'm going to go back on Google Earth and see if I can find that. If I can, I'll mark it for you guys. And then we also have down here, now I wasn't too sure about this area, but I went ahead and marked it just because we don't have a lot of offshore stuff on this lake. Obviously you're going to be up there, you're going to be flipping cover and working the grass and the hydrilla and all that stuff. But if you want to pull off, these are some spots I think that'll at least be a higher percentage spot. But I do like this right here. You know, got some real good break. Going in right here. Nothing too special, just a little point that comes out, but some real good break. And again, even if you're up there flipping and stuff, maybe just back off and see if you can find the edge of that grass. If you can find the edge, work around the edges. We're going to move on here. We're going to get down here into the middle, and then we're pretty much done. This will be our last waypoint. I just like this, the way that this thing sets up. It's a really good point, nice shallow top on it. It's close to the dam, so you might have some current and stuff possibly through here at times. It's just obviously just a good looking point that you guys should definitely go check that one out. So that wraps us up for Walter E. Long Lake. Make sure to go out, check out our website, simplisticfishing.com. We have all these waypoints, the offshore ones, as well as the Google Earth ones we just talked about. We put them all together, put them on an SD card for you. You can plug them into your graph. It'll change the way you fish. I promise you that. Go check it out, simplisticfishing.com. And until next time, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.